Hey guys, this is Jeff Stanek with Figured Out Baseball. I've got another great Figured Out Baseball podcast for you today. We have Addison Rouse on the show again. He's a returner to the podcast. He is the head coach at Salem University, a Division II school in Salem, West Virginia, and we're pumped to have him back. After Coach Rouse and I recorded our first podcast together, we were talking about some things and kind of both decided we need to jump on another one and talk about some more stuff that he does with his program. So I'll give you a bit of a background on Coach Rouse in case this is the first podcast you've listened to with him, so you know who he is, where he's from, a little bit about what he's done, and then we'll jump into the questions with him. Right now, Coach Rouse is in his fourth season as the head coach at Salem University. This is being recorded at the beginning of the season, but they have started playing, so he's in his fourth year at Salem, a Division II school in West Virginia. He started out his playing career as a player. Again, started his career at Ohio Valley University, a Division II school in Vienna, West Virginia. He helped the team win the conference and advance the NCAA regional on that team in 2006. He finished his playing career at Brescia University, an NAIA school in Owensboro, Kentucky. While at Brescia, he helped the team win the conference championship in 2009 and advance the NAIA national tournament in back-to-back seasons, 08 and 09. He was selected as a conference all-academic team. He graduated with a degree in English in 2009. He spent the 2010 spring as a volunteer at Brescia, his first coaching job in college. Then in 2011 and 12, those springs, he was a graduate assistant at Henderson State University, Division II school in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. He got his master's degree there in 2012. He spent the 2013 season as the recruiting coordinator back at Brescia. And then 2014 through 16, he got his first head coaching opportunity at East Nazarene College, an NCAA Division III school in Quincy, Massachusetts. The 2016 team there had two players selected to the all-conference team, another player that was named Conference Senior Scholar Athlete of the Year. And then in 2017, he was named the head coach at Salem University. The 2018 team finished 19-16. That was the best win percentage since Salem had gone Division II. That year, he was named the Independent College Athletic Association Coach of the Year. He had three players named to the All-ICAA team, also had the Conference Rookie of the Year on his team. The 2019 team won 26 games. That tied the team's single-season wins record, which was originally set in 1999. They were ranked in the NCAA Division II top 25 in home runs, and on base percentage, and ranked in the top 10 in all of Division II baseball in stolen bases, walks, and hit by pitches. He had 5 players that year voted to the all-conference team, 1 player named to the all-region team. The team finished, in addition to all the things it did on the field, the team also finished with a 3.34 team GPA, which is a really outstanding number. Coach Rouse, that's the background. Can't wait to jump into questions with you, man, so I appreciate you coming back on the show with us again.
No, it's awesome, Jeff. I laugh every time I hear you give that bio, man. I mean, honestly, it fires me up. It's just been an incredible journey in this game, and I can't, last time I was just going, wow, and then I feel the same way again, and I don't know if it doesn't come across like selfish, but I feel so blessed, that I've been so many neat places and met so many awesome people and have, had some success and learned so much. This has been an awesome journey, man. I'm just so fortunate to be a part of so many awesome situations with so many great people.
Can't do it without the people that surround you through your journey or anybody else's journey, no doubt about that. And yours has been an interesting one, and it's been fun. It's been fun to kind of learn about you and learn about your background, where you've come from, and you and I just connect on several different levels, and I just appreciate what you're about and what you do for your kids. And that's part of what I wanted to get into today, just what you try to create with your team, the atmosphere that you try to create. And let me just lead into this by saying I spoke with someone recently, just someone I have a personal relationship with. She's a softball player. She's playing at softball right now, and she said, she's been having issues with her team. She's hurt this year. And basically her team has almost, I don't want to say cast her aside, but she's not nearly as important to the team as she was last year. I mean, last year she played every day. She was a big contributor to the team, and then this year she's hurt. She's missing the spring, and it's like her teammates treat her differently. Her coaches treat her differently, and it's almost as if like she's being ostracized a little bit. And we talked, and she was just kind of telling me about the issues she had. And I said, that stuff starts with the coaches. To me, the coaches set the tone for that, just for what your team is like and what the atmosphere is going to be like. And no matter whether you have a great group of kids or not so great group of kids, I think that the coaches can really steer the direction of just the culture that you have. So let me just ask you just a very general question to start this out, Coach Rouse. What sort of a culture do you try to create and cultivate at Salem University?
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, that story is just, it's crazy to me because I think, with culture, like you said, it's intentional. You have to learn it. You have to develop it. You have to cultivate it. I think simply put, our culture can be defined by the word family. And, I say that because it's also the most cliche, eyewash, used all the time, family, family, family. And how I describe it is if we're going to actually use that in our program, and I'm going to claim that we are a quote-unquote family, we're going to embody that. My wife and my family are around our program very, very, very intentionally. I want our players to see me be a husband and father. We do some team activities. We do some intentional, leadership building and accountability and team stuff. And it's just, if we're going to talk about family, it can't just be go roll the balls out between the lines for 3 hours and we go home. We need to be intentional about how we're developing that, nurturing it, and basically owning it on a daily basis that we are a family. We're going to live that way.
And so it's more than that. Even I know some of the things that you guys do and kind of how the players react to you and sort of what you've got set up there. And in this particular case with this softball player, the issue that she's having is that your value on that team is basically based on how much you're going to contribute on the field. And that seems to be the case with the players and the coaches. And I know that this is almost an unfair question, but how do you as a coach, as the head coach, you are the one that's setting the tone for everybody. You've got 35 guys on that team, give or take. I don't know what your number is, but it's close to 35, I'm sure. How do you take the time to make sure everybody on your team feels like that they are a part of that family, whether or not they're playing?
Yeah, I think, it absolutely can't matter. It absolutely can't matter whether they are number one on your roster or 40. And I think you hit the nail on the head when we are very, very much a results-driven society. You know what I mean? Where it's numbers and performance goals and statistics and quotas and that's great. I mean that there's a lot of value in that. But I think when you're developing a team and a culture, the way that's developed, performance can't have any impact on that. Like it's got to be about character. It's got to be about the person and the relationship, and whether that's player 1 or player 40, it doesn't matter. And I do something every day. I text a player every single day. I text a player. Every single day I reach out to one of my guys and just let them know that I'm thinking about them and just checking up on them. And I think that you have to be very, very, I keep using the word, you have to be intentional and you have to be genuine about it. And I think when you do that, you take performance out of it, you're going to get guys that one, love being around you in your program, and you're going to get guys that want to run through a freaking brick wall for you.
I couldn't agree with you more. And if I've been to Salem, and I know what you guys have to sell there, and you and I have had conversations about this. It's not one of those places where, a non-baseball player is going to show up and say, "Wow, this place is amazing. I'm freaking coming here because this is the best campus, the best town I've ever seen." You've got to really sell some things there. Is that something that you sell to a recruit? You have recruits on campus. Is that something that you talk about with the recruit? Just like the atmosphere that you're going to create in the team and kind of what you're going to be a part of on and off the field as a part of as a baseball player here at Salem University?
You know, and I think that's, and again, you're really steering us the right way, because that's kind of what we hang our hat on, is like, listen, this is Salem. This is what it is. You know what I mean? This is the school, the campus, we're pretty open about our shortcomings. We're pretty open about our aesthetic issues or the things that may need improvement and lack of a conference. And we don't hide any of that stuff. And we're very, very authentic and being open and honest with our recruits about it. But here's what I tell them. I said, if you want to develop as a young man, if you want to develop as a player, if you want to get your degree, like when we put it, you're going to come to Salem because we're going to care about you and love you and help you grow into the best player and person that we can create. And we are going to give you everything that we can to develop you as a man. We are going to do every single thing possible to grow you as a kid. Like, that's our heart. Like, that's our purpose. That's our intent. And then we think that when we are developing that and when we are putting everything that we have into that, and I think the baseball takes care of itself, because you're going to recruit talented kids. You're going to find good baseball players. You're going to find kids that throw hard, run well, swing the bat. Like, you're going to find that. Like, but that doesn't just guarantee winning. Like, what guarantees success is everything that you're doing prior to the umpire saying play ball. You know what I mean?
Do you think that every team in America says that? I think that you guys are really genuine. So that I'm not downplaying what you're saying, but I guess I'm thinking of this from a recruit standpoint or from the parent of a recruit. Like, if you visit 5 schools, don't you think you're going to hear that 5 different places? Like, how do you know? Well, first of all, do you think everyone's trying to sell that whether they have it or not? And do you think it's something that when a kid visits a school, they've got to dig a little deeper to find out, is this, to use the term you used, is this just eyewash, or is this team actually functioning this way? Do you think that's something everybody sells no matter what?
No, you make a good point. I'll be honest with you, Jeff. I think it is. I think if I let's not be naive here. I think you are a recruiting coordinator. You're selling the relationship. You're selling the program. You're selling the chemistry, the culture in your organization. And that may be that's probably a very real thing. That it is across the board probably a consensus of that. And I think, and again, I don't know if we have the separating factor. I just hope that my relationship with that parent or that young man and my staff's impact, that, like, when they get in front of us, that there's just an aura and a presence that says, you know what, I want to go play for this man. I want to be a part of this. I want us to, I want it to be uncommon. I want, even though it's a common theme, I want us to separate with our, authenticity, the way that we are intentional, the way that we care, the way that we develop that relationship. If I talk to a young man, Jeff, I am prepared to talk to him again with notes. Like, I'm ready. I'm organized. I'm not just asking the same question every week or every 2 weeks when we talk. I'm diving into the relationship. I'm getting to know him personally, and my hope is that separates us. That genuine care is what will separate us from a common theme.
When someone actually visits, you talk to them on the phone, obviously, and you develop a relationship there, or at least with some of the coaches on staff. When someone actually visits the place, do you have any advice for someone who's taking some visits or will be taking visits in the next couple of years for someone to really, see through the facade of what's being said as opposed to how the culture really is? Is there something that a kid can do on that visit, whether it's spend time with the players, go to a practice? Like, is there anything you recommend that someone might do, whether they're coming to visit Salem or going to visit some school on the West Coast or wherever? Like, how do you differentiate, truth from fiction when it comes to stuff like the team culture?
That is a great question. And I think that if I'm giving advice to a recruit, I am coming and watching the practice. I am watching the way that the coach interacts with his young men. If I'm not shy or timid, I'm asking a player about the environment and about what this program is really about, on the inside. And then I think the third thing that I ask is that I sit down with that coach and go, what makes me special? Why me? And if that coach says you throw hard and you're 6'4", I mean, obviously, so when this young man sits down, like I would love him to be, hey coach, why me? Where do I fit? And if that coach can give him an authentic answer and a detailed response and have a game plan for him, then I think that it obviously is going to build that trust. It's going to build that relationship a little bit. And then from a player standpoint, when he's out there watching a coach in his element, I mean that's all you need to see. And then you go up to a kid and go, hey, I'm watching Coach Addy right now, and I'm watching how he's interacting at this practice. Is this how he really is on a day-to-day basis? And if the young man, the young player says, yeah, that's how he is, then I think you're entering a very real and true environment that sometimes gets, taken for granted. And as you and I both know, it's what you see on the outside isn't always what's on the inside, but hopefully we can be authentic and real and genuine, and we can, what we are on Twitter is what we are, day to day behind the scenes, and kids can see that.
I think it's just a matter of looking for it.
Yeah.
Too many times kids take visits and their opinion or their decision is made by things that maybe aren't as important, but maybe seem it on the surface, like they're looking at the campus or looking at the town, and they're getting a feel for that kind of stuff. They see the facilities and all the amenities and things like that, and kids are making decisions based on those types of things instead of what's happening in the dugout, which is really your success and your happiness once you're on campus, at least in my opinion, is going to be based on what's happening in the dugout, and not like, are you going to get the coolest gear? Do you have the best looking weight room? And like, what's your, what are your facilities? How nice is the field? How nice is the town? Like that kind of stuff is nice. And it's going to be part of your experience, but you know, I've never heard of anybody transferring because like, the town's too small or like, our dugout's not that we don't have a locker room, or it's it's always because of, like softball situation, the softball player, like the team culture just isn't there, or obviously playing time, stuff like that. But you don't often see people transferring or leaving a school, but you'll see people make decisions based on those things.
But you make a great point, and I will tell you this. I think here's what I will tell you, and I'm not going to name programs, but I have a coaching friend of mine that made a really, really, really good point. He said, all those bells and whistles, all the hack attacks and the rapsodo and the drive line and the hit tracks and the, the shoes and the apparel and all of this amazing bells and whistles, right? All of that, like you said, there is weight, there is value. It certainly 100% makes it for a nice experience. But when you get in the thick of it, none of that matters. None of that matters between the hours of 2 to 5 at practice. None of it does. None of it matters during a team meeting. None of it matters during a team activity. None of it matters at 6 a.m. weights. Like, if you get all these awesome things and you're getting developed and you're like, this is amazing, but you hate your coach, you hate the staff, you hate the culture, you hate the chemistry, you're never going to be fulfilled. It's always going to be flawed. It's always going to be tainted. It's never going to give you what you desire. Every time it will let you down.
That's some truth there, man. That's some truth right there. So with your assistant coaches, when you have, a new coach come in or just you guys are talking about recruiting, are you coaching your coaches up to have these types of conversations with kids on the phone? Like, hey guys, like you've got them, make sure you're developing this relationship with these guys on the phone so they get to know you and they feel like they know you and they feel like they're coming to play for somebody they know and they can relate to. Because it's really easy as a recruiter to have the phone call every week that just says like, hey man, we won a lot of games last year. Like, I think you can play here. I think you're the right type of player for us on the field, and that's your conversation every time you're on the phone with them. And then a kid's just like, after a while, just kind of tunes you out. Yeah. Is that something that you actually coach up in your coaches, or is that something you kind of let them have some trial and error on?
I would say it's a combo of both. I think the best thing that happened to me as a young assistant was when my boss in Arkansas, Henderson State, gave me a whole Excel database of names and said, go call these kids in the week, at the end of the week, and I want to by the end of the week, and I want to update on Friday. And I had no idea how to call kids. I had no idea what to say. I remember my first conversation, Jeff. He's a kid that played on Louisville's College World Series team back in the early 2000s there, okay? And he answers the phone. His name's Kyle Gibson. And I say, hey, Kyle. And he goes, hey, I say, this is Coach Rouse. At that time, I wasn't in Arkansas, I was at Brescia now. So I got at both of those early stops, I'd kind of been thrown to the fire here. Now I'm at Brescia, so get back on track. And I'm at Brescia. And I just saw him at a showcase. And I literally go on a whole tangent about our program for 8 minutes. I get done, and he goes, hey, Coach, thank you, but I'm committed to Louisville. So I'm like, oh. So I'm not 8 minutes. I'm like, this is our best majors, and this is our, we're a Catholic affiliate, and if you are a Catholic, you get half off tuition, and this is what we can do scholarship-wise for you, and this is where we see you fit. This is our philosophy. And then he goes, oh, yeah, thanks, Coach, I'm going to Louisville. And I'm like, whoa, and I was like, oh, that's humbling. And, yeah. So I just think that you got to let them go a little bit. Like, you have to take the training wheels off and let them fly a little bit. But I also think that when you've created a niche in your program, you need to kind of steer them like, hey, guys, when you call this shortstop, okay, yeah, is he a baller? Yes, like we want him. But, like, I need you to get this guy's our shortstop. He's our leader. He's our captain. He's the guy in the middle of the field. Like, you need to find out about who he is as a person. Because I don't want to win with bad people. Like, we want to win with good character. We want to win with integrity. We want to win with just great kids. So I'm like, listen, I don't care that he throws 92. That's awesome. Like, I want that. But, like, before we make the full decision here, your conversation can't be, hey, buddy, you said 92. We do drive line. We're going to get you drafted. Okay, we'll develop you by. Like, it needs to be like, learn about him. Like, what makes him tick? Get to know a little bit about his personality. I try to steer them a little bit, you know what I mean, down the right path. But just like when I was young, Jeff, you got to figure it out a little bit. You got to learn and fail and trial and error. And I think at some point you kind of get your niche and you kind of learn how to steer a conversation the right way.
I actually remember Kyle Gibson because I also tried to recruit him, but I also got the bad news. Right? Yeah, I was at Morehead State, and I also got the bad news.
Yeah. He was from Henderson County.
Yeah, yeah. Too bad. He would have looked good in Morehead blue instead of Louisville red, but he probably wouldn't have gone to a World Series, I don't think. But who knows? I think it's such great points that you make about the recruiting and about developing the relationship. And when you're talking there, I'm thinking about I have this one guy in my mind. He's a pitching coach. At a pretty big school who's not great at baseball right now. And I've heard about the conversations that he has with players, and it's the conversations that you're saying aren't going to go anywhere. Like, hey, man, we're going to get you drafted, and you're going to be playing in a big league someday if you come here and play for us, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you kind of on the outside looking in, like, why don't these guys have better players? Why isn't this team better? They've got a lot of things working in their favor, and I've got to believe this is why. And this is one of the things I've told other people in the past is, to me, when if you have a head coach that's pretty good and has had some success and things like that, but he just has, he moves to a different school and just really struggles there, the common denominator is usually the assistant coaches aren't doing something. They're doing something that's hindering the program. And to me, this guy, this one pitching coach that I'm thinking of, is part of the reason this particular school can't get it done. And it's just amazing that somebody can get to that level and not have figured that out yet. But you guys have, and things, I know you've got some good kids, you've got some talent on campus. Let me ask you this, though. This has been, and this may be a sore subject, but I'm going to bring it up. It's been a slow start to the year for you guys. You've had some tough times so far. How do you so you've built up this culture in your kids, they believe in you, they believe in each other, but you have a slow start to the season. What's the conversation like with your guys at this point, whether it's practice or you go into a weekend series, what's the conversation like for you to keep these guys on track, to keep their confidence up, and to let them know that, they still are who they are despite what the record said early in the year. There's a lot of time left. So what are your conversations like with the guys at this point, individually, as a team, whatever?
Well, you're gonna like this, because it's funny that you bring it up, and you're right. It hasn't been a great start. It was definitely not what I expected. Definitely not what we anticipated to start our season with our high expectations, as you knew and as I've made clear to you that I was really excited about. So, how do we get this on track? And we've done it, Jeff. There's 3 ways we've gone about this. Number one is we've met as a team and just got back to, hey, listen, trust the process. And that's that's so cliche, but we just told a guy, listen, at some point you're going to perform like the back of your baseball card. And this is the first time in Salem history that they have ever had high expectations, that they have ever had, that we have ever had, any kind of, hey, we need you guys to go and perform. And straight up, flat out, 100%, I think early on the pressure's got to us a little bit. I think the guys have really worn that on their sleeves and worn that on their shoulders. And how we've combated that is, like I said, we told the guys, hey, listen, slow it down. We trust you. We believe in you. We have full faith in you. And then also a little bit more of a blunt conversation like, hey, the definition, Jeff, of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again. So I trust you, and I believe in you, but at some point it's time to ball, and at some point it's time to get it going, and at some point we need you to step it up and start performing and doing things well, and or we're gonna have to run somebody else out there. So I think we've kind of blended, like, hey, let's not freak out, let's not panic, but also like, hey, boys, we gotta hold you accountable, and you gotta start performing. And we've brought them in one-on-one, so they've been very individualized, like very authentic conversations, Jeff. But we had guys meet all Tuesday. They all came into the office, and we said, okay, here's your role, here's where you're at, here's what you need to do, and then do you have any feedback for us? So we checked our ego out the door, saying, hey, are we putting you in the best position to succeed? If we are, then we got to get it going. And if we aren't, give us some feedback, because we are in this for you. It's your program. We want to be successful. So we're going to check our ego out the door, and we're going to be like, hey, listen, give us some feedback. What can we do to help this program and help these young men get going and perform at a high level that you're expected to? So it's been threefold, and I feel great about where we're heading. I really do.
Awesome. It's funny that you say about the back of the baseball card and that eventually you're going to perform like the guy in the back of your baseball card, because I've had that exact same conversation with kids. I don't know if I've told you this before, but when I coached, you don't have a lot of resources at even mid-major Division I's and below, so you're kind of wearing a lot of hats. The teams that I coached for, I was kind of the in-house mental strength coach. I read a lot about that kind of stuff. I really buy into it, believe in it, and I would work with players on it. And I've had a player in the past. There's one particular player I'm thinking of that had 3 really good years, came out as a senior, thought he had a chance to be drafted, and after like 4 weekends, he was hitting like a $152. And, this guy had a really great 3-year career to that point, and he and I talked. He's the guy that I recruited and just said, hey, man, play out, look at the back of your baseball card, play out 10 seasons. If you could play college baseball for 10 years, what does the back of your baseball card look like? Like, that's who you are. You have to believe every day when you go out there that's who you are. And I firmly buy into what you said. And I also, something I talked to him about, and probably a good point for an individual or for teams that may be in the same situation that you're in, is just to, like you said, slow the game down and try to break the game down into smaller segments to where you're breaking it down pitch to pitch. And as an individual player and as a team, you're just trying to win each pitch. You're trying to compete the best you can pitch to pitch. And when you do that, ultimately, usually over the course of the season, the talent shows through. If you just compete best you can and try to win each pitch, then a lot of really good things are going to happen for you over the course of the year.
You nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. And It's 100%. It's 100%. Like I said, just that trust in that belief in that. Like, it's like, I'm trying to find the right words for it. Like you said, like, you're going to perform, and I'm trusting you. I'm believing in you. You're not going to be. You cannot settle to the plate and all of a sudden increase your batting average by 150 points, and like you gotta have a good weekend, have a good day, have a good AB, and let those chips follow that. Trust your training. You know what I mean? Like, don't get ahead of yourself. Like, it's gonna come, and we believe in you. So start look yourself in the mirror and believe in yourself. Like, we are all in on you, bud, and we've been trying to instill that all week. And man, I feel like we're just about to explode, man. I really do.
Nothing will help that more than a 3 or 4 run first inning and get the lead in one of these games and let your boys run with it and have some fun. We've talked a lot about culture, a lot about things that you guys do. I think one of the sort of general beliefs right now is that kids in 2020 aren't the same as, kids 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, whatever it may be. And I think one of those things is just that we live in a culture now with social media, and there's a lot of focus on me, and instant gratification, things like that. Do you find that kids still want what you're selling, meaning like the family atmosphere, a team that's you're gonna work hard, we're gonna focus, we're gonna train you, we're gonna get you better individually, but there's a lot of other things to it. Do kids still want that, the family culture, even though we're in such an individualized type of world that we live in right now? I mean, do kids still want the family atmosphere that you're selling from what you see, from what you hear?
You know what, Jeff, and I think I would say yes, and I think this the whole listen, the technology and the analytics, like, you need to adapt or die. Like, it's true. Like, we have to understand spin rates and launch angles, and some of those variables are extremely necessary and important for us to understand, teach, and implement in our programs. But at the end of the day, and I mean this, I still believe the young man wants accountability, structure, and good old school coaching. I really believe that. I believe that's what wins championships. Now, development develops players, develops talent, develops ability, and analytics and those things are going to help you have better baseball players. But if you want to win a championship and you want to win at a really high level, accountability, structure, family, blue collar, old school hard work is what's going to get it done. I firmly believe that.
You've been coaching for a while. You were thrown into a head coaching situation pretty early on, pretty early in your career at a pretty young age. How did you get to this point where you decided that this is what I want? This is what I want my team to be like. This is the culture that I want to create. How did you get to this point where this is sort of what you decided that this is going to work for us? This is going to work for a college baseball team.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, a lot of mistakes, a lot of failures. I mean, I think early on, I was the young guy who was in the hot seat and had all the answers from all my previous stops, and I was trying to blend 4 different programs into mine, and I wasn't. I was completely lost in that, and I was, one minute I was acting like my boss at Brescia, the next minute I was acting like my boss at Henderson State, and I was never really me. And then I kind of, got a little bit better with that, and then I started being, then I was being authentic, but then I was maybe a little bit too friendly, right? Like, I was a little bit too players-like coach because, I have a, I love people. I have a great personality when it comes to the boys. I like to relate to them. I love being around them, and maybe I got a little bit too passive-aggressive. One minute I'm all buddy-buddy. Next minute I'm the guy breaking the clipboard. You know what I mean? So I just have gone from all these different, under personalities and states of mind when it came to running a program. And I think, and my wife said it best, like, you got to be authentic. You got to be who you are. Like, you got to run a program that you believe in, that when you get done, with your day at the end of the night, you lay your head down and know that you're running the program that's going to develop young men with a purpose. And, I want to win a championship, Jeff. I want a dog pile. I want to go to Cary. I want to do some cool things. But, at the end of the day, what matters is the relationship. What matters is developing young men. What matters is changing lives and transforming, kids into successful people. And, when I learned that was what was, one, the most important thing to me, and number two, I learned that they needed me to be authentic and consistent. It's completely changed the way I run things, and my conviction and my beliefs have come full circle with that, and along with my faith too. So it's been such a growth process, and I'm so glad that people didn't give up on me and let me find my way. And by no means am I a finished product, but I certainly feel I have the blueprints now to run a program with my heart and with conviction.
One or two more questions here, Coach, and I'll let you go. I know you've got a busy day today and a busy weekend.
Yeah.
I think that, we've talked about several things that are cliche, but you buy into enough where it's not a cliche with your program, but in general it is. And I think one of the other cliches that you hear a lot is that we're going to develop this player's character. We're going to develop young men and things like that. And I think, most people that say that are probably very genuine, but there are some guys that say it, and either that's something they say and it's not a focus of their actual day-to-day life or day-to-day practices or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think in your case, I believe that it is, because I think I know you well enough as a person, and I've been around your players a little bit and just seen how they react with you.
Yeah.
Can you give me any specific examples of what does that mean? And you say, I want to win, but I want to develop young men. I want to develop, their character, and I want to develop people that are going to be successful after they leave here. Can you give me some examples of just how do you do that as a you're a baseball coach at the end of the day. How do you do that as a baseball coach? How do you really impact the lives of these guys outside what happens, between the lines at practice and in games?
Yeah, I would give you my two biggest references to that would be, one, you got to emulate it. So when I talk about emulating it, that goes to, when my wife and my kids are around, how am I being a husband? How am I being a father? How am I presenting that in front of my young men while we're on the road or at a game or at practice or when they're in the office around, right? So how am I emulating that? How do I act to a general manager at a restaurant? How am I acting toward my assistant coaches? How am I treating the bus driver? How am I picking up a dugout or a fast food restaurant when I'm thanking people or putting my tray up? So you have to emulate character, and you have to mirror it for your players. Number one, and then number two, I think now, and I don't have a 10-page code of conduct manual, Jeff, but you need to have standards and you need to have structure. And when your player is late to class, he needs to be held accountable, and then he needs to understand why that is important to us. Hey, when you were late at 6:05 and they start at 6, why is this an issue? And I want to explain that to them. So I think, emulating it, mirroring it, and then having structure and having that, that accountability in place, and then also explaining the why, that's what it takes to demonstrate that for your men, and then make the word culture and character actually become action.
And I don't think there's any doubt that is what your program's about. And whatever the rest of the season holds, I think that when you look back at your baseball card 10, 15, 20 years from now, I think there's going to be a lot of successes on the back of that card, a lot of teams that do a lot of really special things, and a lot of individuals that have a lot of individual success, and that just keep in touch with you over the years. I think as a coach, that's one of the badges of honor that you can wear, is how many of your former players still stay in touch with you, the kind of relationships you develop that last longer than 4 years. And I know that that's the kind of guy you are and the kind of coach you are, and things that are going to follow you around wherever you go. Pretty easy to see, to me, what kind of culture you've got at Salem University. And, I don't say this don't say this lightly, don't say it to a lot of people, but if my son, now he's 3 years old, he's got a long way to go, but you're the kind of guy that if my son was looking to go to college, and looking for a place to play, I wouldn't hesitate to send him to you, just because I think that I'd know exactly what he's going to get. And if whether he's a 4-year starter or a 4-year role player or, whatever it is, I think that he would have a great experience and feel like he's cared for and cared about. And that's all you can really ask for, I think, in the process. So, Coach, I appreciate all the insight, appreciate your outlook on things, and just the, what you're willing to share here. And hopefully there are some young coaches listening to this today that gained something, because I know that I sure did. And I think there's a lot to learn from someone like yourself. So I really appreciate you spending time with us today.
Jeff, as always, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing for the game of baseball and how you're growing players and coaches, man. I'm humbled and honored to be a part of it, man. And, you know, the class of 20, I guess, 38, tell your son he's a Tiger or wherever I may be, he's coming. So I'm all in on him.
He's a left-handed hitter, I'll tell you that. He's a left-handed hitter, and he's got a pretty good arm. And I posted video of him, funny enough, just to joke around, because guys post videos sometimes of their kids, like little kids on social media, and like, you know, taking great swings and like hitting a bomb or something. I posted a video of my kid, you know, at 2.5, like he takes one swing and he like knocks the tee over, and, you know, then he like hits a pull side ground ball or whatever. And I kind of joked, like, said, does he need to look into soccer, do you guys think, or whatever? Because it's sometimes on social media, man, it's like this 5-year-old's gonna be in the big leagues. So I thought I'd post the opposite and like, hey, does my 2.5-year-old need to just like focus on the books? Anyway, hopefully he sticks with it, and there's a chance for that. So, man, I appreciate it again, and best of luck to you guys this weekend. And I can't wait to stay in touch with you. I think that we should definitely schedule another one of these podcasts at some point, because you're always a lot of fun to talk to and a great guest on the show.
Well, I would love to jump on again sometime soon, man, and I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon, Jeff.
Thanks, Addison. Good luck, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.